Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up this week, we're going to tell you about our recent experience having dinner at Palo on board the Disney Dream on this week's episode of the Disney Cruise Line Show. The Disney Cruise Line Show is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. Receive a shipboard credit up to $1,500 when you let Dreams Unlimited help you plan your next Disney Cruise Line vacation. You'll get the same price as booking direct with Disney, plus you'll get the assistance of a Disney Cruise Line expert to answer all your questions and help make your next Disney cruise a magical one. Get a no-obligation quote at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studios in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by Dreams Unlimited Travel agent Sean Falk.
Hi.
Dreams Unlimited Travel agent Mike Finucci.
Hello.
Not Dreams Unlimited Travel agent, but editor on The Diz, Ms. Denny Sunderly.
Hi there.
And producer par excellence, Mr. Craig Williams.
Ahoy, hoy.
So just a couple of notes. You can subscribe to our show on iTunes if you'd like to listen to the audio version of this, as opposed to watching us on YouTube, although why you wouldn't want to see this face, I can completely understand, actually. So you can search for the DCL show on iTunes, or just go ahead to disunplug.com, where you can find links to all of our shows and all of our show notes, which are also, if you're watching us on YouTube, right below in the description. So links to everything we're talking about, as well as links to the individual agent pages for both Sean Falk and Mike Finucci, if you'd like to reach out to them about a vacation. Okay, so we are going to talk about our recent dinner at Palo on the Dream. Couple things that I want to mention. First of all, we were able to get reservations to both Palo and Remy on this 4-night sailing literally with less than a month to sail, because we booked this last minute. And that was surprising, because normally these reservations are full, right? And if you're doing last minute, what you need to do, as soon as you get on the ship, they will have a table set up somewhere, usually in one of the restaurants, where you can go and try and make a reservation for either brunch or dinner at Palo or dinner at Remy. They hold back a certain number of these reservations for people that don't make them online. So it's not at all out of the question if you don't get your Palo reservation or your brunch reservation. It's not at all out of the question that you can get it once you get on the ship, but it's got to be like the first thing you do. But I was very surprised that both of these reservations, brunch was not available, and I decided not to put us on the list for it, because brunch is only available on Sea Day, and I didn't want to. But we were able to get dinner at both Palo and Remy. I also want to state up front, I am not a fan of Palo on the new ships. I'm not a fan of the food. I'm not a fan of the design and the decor or the ambiance. I much prefer, for good reason in my opinion, I much prefer them on the Magic and the Wonder. And nothing about this experience disabused me of those notions. But, I'm not necessarily, I don't know that everybody that was there who's in the room right now agrees with me. But let's talk about, I will say straight off, the service from Nicholas, our server on the Dream, was phenomenal. He was, pure Italian. And he was, the service was fantastic. No question about that. But the meal I found personally very inconsistent. But Denny, let's talk about what you had. You had, for your appetizer, the heirloom tomato buffalo mozzarella caprese,
Yes.
which is basil pesto and aged balsamic vinegar. The only reason I know that is because this amazing woman who took copious notes at everything we did on this ship, then sent through individual PDFs, like within a day of us getting off the ship, individual PDFs with all of this. one of about 1,100 reasons I adore this woman, and she has been such an amazing addition to this team, and I know all of you agree with me because the audience has absolutely fallen in love with you. So you had this heirloom tomato, buffalo mozzarella.
I did. And the mozzarella. Okay, so I love a caprese salad. This is something I'll make a caprese salad for myself on like if
of course you will.
If my hubby's working and you know I go and buy the fresh mozzarella at the store and the nice tomatoes and throw it all together. So whenever this is on the menu, I am like a moth to a flame. I want to have the caprese and just try it. This did not disappoint. So beautiful little heirloom tomatoes as an heirloom tomato will do. You've got your different varieties, different colors on the plate, and the mozzarella was so fresh it melted in your mouth. So I was really, really tickled by it, and one of my notes from eating it, from just reminiscing over eating it, was the fact that the tomatoes just really provided a nice canvas, a nice foundation to showcase that creamy mozzarella. So that was a winner for me. I had another appetizer as well.
You did. You were a bit of a pig.
I was.
At dinner.
I was. So I had to have the fried calamari. So the Fritto di Calamari e Gamberi. I'm sorry for the Italians in the audience.
Really, that's been pretty butchered.
I'm so sorry.
I couldn't do much better. So
French is more my thing. So this is not good. So deep fried shrimp and calamari with lemon, garlic, mayonnaise, and marinara dippings. That was really, really nice. That is a huge, and the reason I got this is A, I wanted to try it, but B, I knew it would be a shareable size. Mm-hmm. It is a shareable size. If you're sitting there horking all this calamari down, you're not going to eat your entree. So it was perfectly, just the batter used on it was nice and light. The fry applied to it was nice and light. It wasn't too heavy-handed at all. It was the calamari was tender. And I've done fried calamari at home before that ended up not being tender. So it makes such a big difference. And they did a great job. And it comes with a ginormous shrimp on that plate. And I know, Sean, that you had some of the shrimp. But I was really pleased.
Yeah, that shrimp was pretty Jurassic. That was massive.
Yes.
It was like something was wrong with it. Large.
Yes.
Now, Sean, you had the plant-based option for your appetizer. You had the grilled portobello mushroom with spinach and polenta that had a roasted shallot sauce, aged balsamic vinegar, and crisp Parmesan.
Yes.
And
yeah, we had a whole thing on the ship where myself and Pete's mom, Madeline, we're not the most descriptive people in the world whenever we were talking about stuff. So it was always a big running joke. Everything was fine.
every time we asked my mother, how do you, how's your dinner? Oh, fine. Or very good. I'm like, okay, Madeline, use your words.
Yes.
Okay? We're doing a review. You need to use your words.
So we had a gauge between fine and very good and okay. It was about it. Yeah. So I'm definitely not as descriptive. Even for mine, I'm like, it was good. Like, I liked it.
Yeah,
so
that's usually a Sean review.
That's my thing. I'm literally looking at my notes to remember everything exactly. So it essentially had this long row of polenta, and then on top of it were these portobello mushrooms that were really thinly sliced and kind of like caved over it or like wrapped over it. And then on the end it had a like baked Parmesan bird's nest looking thing that kind of waved over the top of it. The polenta and the sauce that was on top of it, I have no idea what that was. It's a roasted shallot sauce with aged balsamic vinegar on top of it. It was really, really good. Like, this could have been my full meal if I'd have been wanting that. I think it was good to have that for people who are like vegetarian and they need that choice. I don't typically go with the vegetarian option, but I just did something crazy today. So that day, and was like, let's go vegetarian for the moment. The baked Parmesan, it had like an old taste to it. Like it was like hardened, I guess, but like also kind of mushy at the same time. So it wasn't a very good addition to it, but overall the rest of it was fantastic. I loved it. It was really big though for it to be an appetizer.
It was
like
huge.
A full meal.
Yeah, that was massive.
Yes, this was like 3 servings of polenta in this thing. So it was a lot.
Mom had the baby arugula salad. Mom and I do not eat seafood, and Mom is a much less adventurous eater than I am, and these menus tend to overwhelm her. So I was kind of like, okay, Ma, I think the arugula salad will be good for you. I think this dish will be good for you. And that salad had roasted walnuts, pears, and pecorino cheese, and it was good. That was Madeline's review. It was good. Everything was fresh. It was good. I had the anelote, I believe is how it's pronounced. Butternut squash, buffalo mozzarella, amaretti, sage brown butter, and basil. This dish was outstanding. This was it was a ravioli, basically.
Yep.
And that amaretti and the sage brown butter just created this sweet and savory.
You loved this beyond
It
all
was
love.
like, and everybody that tasted it was like,
Yes.
oh my God, that was incredible. That was a really, really, really good dish. It was sweet to the point, and I love sweet. I really do. But it was sweet to the point where it almost could have passed as a dessert, with the exception of the fact that it was hot and a ravioli. But very, very good. This one, I'm like, okay, maybe this will work. As a second appetizer, however,
Hey, Pete.
yeah,
I was going to say the anelote is my absolute favorite thing on the menu. And the last time I was there, it's not on the brunch menu. I asked for it. They made it. So that was awesome. But I won't go to Palo without having anelote.
it was absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing. However, in contrast, I got another ravioli dish as a second appetizer. And this was veal, rosemary, parmesan ravioli with crimini mushrooms and a Barolo wine sauce. This was not as good. I described it as reaching for mediocrity and having a finish that was almost musty. It just was not a great blend, and I want to say that I've had this dish before and enjoyed it, but on the Magic and the Wonder, specifically the Wonder, and this is where it starts to come in for me that I every time I've had Palo on the classic ships, with very few exceptions, I've had a consistent, excellent meal. That has not been the case on the new ships. That has not been the case. What's that? Oh, is that your dog, Mike?
No, he's asleep now, but he's not
Oh, well, something's
not making
scratching.
any noise. He was snoring earlier.
Oh.
Oh, that's adorable. Abby doesn't snore, but Abby dreams and she makes noises and her legs move.
That could have been it. He's not moving. Now he's moving, and he's just repositioned and is back asleep.
We talk about the dogs, and that's what they do. So this appetizer, the second appetizer for me, was like, okay, no, it's still inconsistent here.
No, as divine as the anelote was, the exact opposite with the ravioli. It just wasn't a standout.
So, Denny, for your entree, you did the pappardelle. This had grilled lobster, pappardelle pasta, leeks, salmon caviar, truffle oil, and a tarragon cream sauce.
Yes.
I love pappardelle normally, but you had it infested with all the seafood, so I wasn't touching that.
It was good. It was something that came recommended by a server in Palo, and so I knew it was going to be something that would hopefully be a highlight of what they can do in the restaurant. It was nice. It was light. You know how you eat some pasta dishes and you just regret your decisions because it's just heavy. It weighs heavy on you for the rest of the evening. This was not that. It was nice. It was not too overly fishy, which is really good. If it had been overly fishy, I wouldn't have been a fan at all. The lobster was prepared well, although slightly chewy in some parts, but it's lobster, so I expect that to happen. I liked the salmon caviar. It was just a nice burst of saltiness without being too much so. So it provided a bit of a brightness to the dish. I liked it.
All right. Now, I just want to also, I should have mentioned this at the top. Dinner at Palo is an additional $40 per person, and that number has increased pretty dramatically. I mean, it was $25 not that long ago. So they're starting to get to the point where, they got to watch with the upcharge for Palo, especially if the food's going to be inconsistent. But Sean, for your entree, you had the piquant Dover sole that was filleted table side. Mm-hmm. This was a nut brown butter, which they seem to be really popular. They really like the nut brown butters at Palo. Capers, anchovies, sun-dried tomatoes, flat parsley, spinach, carrots, and roast thyme potatoes. And again, infested with things I won't eat.
Right.
So,
it was really, really good. I loved this dish a lot. They were very careful, and as Disney usually is in the parks or on the cruise or anything, I have an allergy to almonds, and so they made sure that everything that I was eating and everything I had didn't have any almonds or wasn't made with any almond extract or any of those types of things. Even for me, when that's not a very severe allergy, I'm not like Kylie, I don't have to carry on an EpiPen or anything, but I do, it will make me sick a little bit for the rest of the night.
So you just have to make sure we have Benadryl.
I have to take Benadryl and that kind of stuff. But they made sure they went out of their way, and especially when I'm like, oh, I want that dish, and their stuff will list like nuts in it or whatever. There's sometimes some cross contamination there, but they did a really good job. It was already filleted like table side anyway, so it was neat to get a little show, I guess, in there with it. They listed it as fried, but it was like not even tempura fried. Like it was so lightly battered fried that it was like it wasn't even there almost. It was really, really good. I love seafood a lot, but I don't typically get fish. I usually will get shrimp or lobster or whatever, or even like octopus or something, but I don't care for fish as the dish except salmon. And this was not overly fishy tasting. It was a really just nice, clean, white piece of fish or whatever, and it was fantastic. I loved all the additions. Maybe I did. Let me see what they were. Yes, I did like all of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved the potatoes. I loved the carrots. I loved the spinach that was with it. It's definitely one that I would go back to order again.
Okay. Yeah, I took a nibble of your soul, and it was good. It wasn't like a nibble of your soul. There it is.
That's what she does. She's very, very sweet, but she does snack on your soul.
I do. Just a little here and there. But no, it was really good. Not overly fishy, like you said. And the capers didn't overpower it, which was whenever you've got capers thrown in, that's a fear that I have. Is it going to be too on that end of things, too peppery, too blunt? And it wasn't. It was really good.
Mom had the roasted free-range lemon and thyme chicken with roasted baby vegetables, garlic, potatoes, and a Chianti thyme sauce. That was very good. This rose to the level of very good for Madeline. She said the chicken was moist and very flavorful without really having to add anything to it. Then again, my mother wouldn't reach for a salt or pepper shaker if you put a gun to her head, including when she cooks. She's gotten better as she's gotten older, but when I was a kid, that woman seasoned nothing. And she openly admits she was a terrible cook. She was only Italian woman I know. Terrible cook. She's gotten a lot better as she's gotten older. But in those days, she wouldn't season anything. So you would have, and she liked to boil chicken to cook it because everything had to be cooked thoroughly. Could not be. I mean, she was like, even to this day, everything's got to be well done. Everything. So you would have boiled, unseasoned chicken for dinner, and then she would boil spinach and Brussels sprouts boiled, and then wonder why until I was in my 50s, I wouldn't put a vegetable past my lips.
We did run into that actually at Remy or whatever for our other night, because we were debating, because they had the Wagyu beef, and then there also was the Japanese Wagyu. It had this
The
Mizuyaki or whatever, and we were discussing it with her, and she's like, well, I only eat well done, and our server immediately was like, we will not cook this steak well done. This is a $110 steak. Like, literally, he was like, we will not cook it well done. So we're like, well, you can't get.
Well, they
that,
ended
I
up
guess.
doing it though with the
They
Wagyu.
did.
With the
They
Wagyu,
did.
but not with the
Not with the
not with
Mizuyaki.
the other. They were like, we will not cook it well
But no,
done.
she
Sorry.
enjoyed it. She said the sauce was very good. The chicken was moist, things like that. So she enjoyed it. And again, Mom is very conservative in her palate, and I was happy that she was able to find things on the menu that weren't over the top, that she really enjoyed, that also weren't like throwaways. Like, okay, well, we're going to do all this great stuff, and then here's some chicken. They really put some effort into it. So I will give them credit on that. For me, I had the grilled prime beef tenderloin. This is one of the signature dishes at Palo, and has been since the beginning. This has pancetta potato, sautéed spinach, choice of Barolo wine sauce or Gorgonzola cheese sauce. I always ask for both. It was definitely a higher caliber steak than I was getting in the main dining rooms, which is what you would expect, since that comes with your cruise, and this you're paying $40 for. It was nothing close to being one of the best steaks I've ever had. Again, it was middling in terms of if I was to go to Flying Fish, if I was to go to California Grill, if I was to go to Linda's La Cantina, one of my favorite steakhouses over here in downtown Orlando, I would have gotten a much better steak, a much better quality steak. But it was better than what was being served in the main dining rooms. Both of the sauces, both the Gorgonzola sauce, and I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you make a Gorgonzola sauce. It doesn't have any flavor. But I had to mix both of these sauces together to get any kind of meaningful flavor out of it. They used to do a very nice job with these red wine reductions. And they've kind of moved away from it, even though Barolo, I believe, is a red wine. It must be a red wine. It's, stop. Sometimes just stop trying to innovate. A good cab reduction is a surefire bet. And if your steak isn't going to be steakhouse quality, it needs the help. So stop helping. And this was something that really stuck out to me. I've sailed in the Wonder twice in the last year and was blown away by the quality of the food in the main dining room. But I wasn't sure if that was Wonder specific or if it's more Fleet specific. So getting on the Dream and having some meals in the main dining room and saying, nope, guess what? It's just as good here. I had a Chateaubriand in Royal Palace the first night, and I ordered it specifically because I was almost certain it would be awful, because it's not an easy piece of meat to cook, and it's very easy for it to go wrong. And how you do that in a catering environment, which is basically what these restaurants are, you're serving 900, 1,000 meals at a sitting, and it was fantastic. I mean, tender enough to cut with a fork, very flavorful without adding anything to it. So the quality of what I was experiencing in the main dining room made the experience in Palo less impressive. And saying to myself, that's why I'm saying they have to watch this $40, this price point, because at some point I'm going to say, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good in the main dining rooms. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that's not, this is pure speculation on my part. But is that why I was able to get reservations for us?
I think a lot of that has to do with, because it was like with the 3 and 4 night sailings, for me on a 3-night or even a 4-night, I really want to try each of the main dining restaurants, because Disney has their rotational dining. There are 3 main dining rooms, and I want to try them all. Even on this one, because it was a 4-night, we did Palo one night, we did Remy another night, so we missed Enchanted Garden, and so we did eat there for breakfast our last night. But I mean, if this is my first time sailing Disney, or if this is my first time on that itinerary, it does become a thing of like $40 a person. Me and my whole family, it's $160 for like 4 people. Yeah. Do we need to spend it when we want to make sure we try all the restaurants, and you also don't really know what your rotation's going to be? So, I mean, you may miss one of the other restaurants.
You're exactly right. And we were there on Pirate Night. And for families, I mean, I have friends who bring a separate suitcase for Pirate Night, and it's all the Pirate Night costumes and everything else. So for families, or for for guests who, that's a really big deal.
They were doing the fireworks while we were at dinner, so
we saw them out the window, like the reflection of them. But
at first I thought we were under attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that was.
But Sean, you also had the pappardelle as your main course.
Yeah, I don't really remember it very much.
According to the notes, you liked it, okay, but you liked the sole better.
Yeah.
And then for dessert, we all had the chocolate souffle.
Yes, we did.
And that's that's a surefire winner. Although I found my souffle slightly overcooked, which it's like, okay, this has been a signature dessert for this restaurant since day one. Mm-hmm. How are you not getting it right at this point? And again, that's been my complaint with Palo on both the Dream and the Fantasy pretty much all along. It just doesn't seem as good as it is on the Magic and the Wonder. Plus, I don't know that I'll ever forgive them for taking the wild mushroom risotto off the menu.
Yeah.
That was so foolish, in my opinion. Again, signature dish. I understand you want to change things up, but when you have a cruise line with that many people going back over and over and over again, they want to experience the things they love.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't want to try something new. Sometimes you want that familiar. And they're changing up these things, and I think you've got plenty of room on your menu. First of all, they've narrowed the menu quite a bit. They don't do the flatbreads anymore the way they did in the past. Those were not on the menu. No. There were no flatbreads on the menu, and that used to be a great for especially we had our group. That's always a great table appetizer, right? You get the flatbreads, you order a couple other things. So some of these decisions being made at Palo, I think, are moving in the wrong direction. And I hope that they put some more effort and attention into what they're serving, especially on the newer ships. But yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, given the strength of the food in the main dining rooms, given some of the inconsistency I see, I'm only giving this a 6.5 because I was underwhelmed leaving. Yeah. But what about you? What would you give it, 1 to 10?
For me, I mean, my experience was about an 8.5. I would say I felt very satisfied in it. I did feel that the food,
but I think you almost have to eat seafood to get that.
Yeah, I do also think the food, this meal was on the level of what we had at the Royal Palace, which is just one of the free restaurants, because that meal was exceptionally good. So I was kind of like, well, we paid for this meal extra, but we didn't with the other. I obviously don't want them to start making the other worse to like combat this, but it does, I get your point. I do like Palo on the Magic and the Wonder better because I like the layout, I like the atmosphere better, and I remembered the food feeling like leaving and thinking it was a 10 out of 10 compared to this that just had like some things where I was like, okay, this was good, but this really wasn't that great.
And I also have to say, we did Palo on a Wednesday night, we did Remy on a Thursday night. And by the end of dinner on Thursday night, I'm like, Palo who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Remy was significantly better.
It was absurd how good it was. But that's a review for another time.
Yeah. I mean, if you can only do one, I definitely would recommend Remy.
So you give it an 8.5?
Yeah, I would say 7.5. I mean, you have to compare it to what you could be eating that night. So we were supposed to be down in Enchanted Garden that night. Or no, we were back in Animators for the
Back in
second night of
Animators that night.
Animators Palette.
So we missed the show, the drawing show.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's so good in the main dining room locations that do I need to spend another $40 to get this experience? It was a nice experience, but I don't know that I would say, oh, this is a must do.
Yeah.
On this short cruise.
Yes.
Now,
brunch is must do.
let's talk about brunch, because I know, Mike, you haven't done dinner at Palo on the cruise, but you have done brunch.
I've done brunch, yeah.
Have you done brunch on new and classic ships, or just one of the other?
Just the new ship so far.
Okay.
Dream.
What's your take on brunch?
It was one of the best dining experiences I've had. The brunch buffet, like where you go up and you pick stuff from their little buffet, was phenomenal. I had the agnolotti. Like I said, they made it special for me. And I think I also ordered the the chicken parmesan that was with like the parmesan risotto. That's some of the best risotto I've ever had. The chicken was, standard chicken parmesan. Nothing to write home about, but I still remember the risotto, almost a year later, I think, since the last time I had it.
Craig,
Yeah.
Craig, where brunch is concerned, do you prefer new or classic?
I have, in the past year, a little over a year, I've done brunch once on the Magic and once on the Dream, and I have to say I don't care for brunch on either. Palo brunch isn't for me.
Oh my
I think
Lord!
It's
You're fired.
Shocking.
You're fired. You're fired. No,
you know what, though?
Cut your mic off. Cut your own mic off.
just
No, look, Palo brunch is amazing. Okay, don't listen to him. He hit his head.
What does it you don't like about it?
I don't really care for. And the entrees, I think, are all decent.
A man who will order 6 orders of escargot
It's kind of what
for
you
dessert.
It's kind of what you guys have said, though. I mean, for brunch, I guess it is a different thing. It's a different experience entirely. But with the main dining rooms being the level that they generally are, it's hard. It's hard for me to have a really good experience, especially I think Royal Palace is one of the most standout ones you can have. It's really hard to go from a great meal at Royal Palace to then something that just doesn't feel like it lives up to that same level. I know people love Palo brunch and Palo dinner, and I enjoy getting to do them as well too, but it's just the past couple experiences I've had at Palo, it's all been just not really impressive, especially on the Dream. So anytime you're speaking on behalf of the newer ships, I'm right there with you. I do not care
and
for Palo.
that is also my feeling with brunch. I feel that brunch is much better on the classic ships than it is on the newer ships, and there are different offerings.
I like the buffet part of Palo, but I do remember the extra stuff we ordered off the menu for our meal being just okay, even on the Magic. But the actual spread as far as the buffet went and the variety, I loved that. I would eat that every day.
Just so people understand, with these brunches, there is a buffet set up where there's any number of things you can help yourself to, but there's also an a la carte menu that you can order from as well. So you can get some stuff off the buffet. Oh, I really want those eggs Benedict, or oh, I really want to try this dish or that dish. And they will bring that out to you. So it is the sort of thing, often recommend to people, you do Palo brunch on days when you're going to do a light dinner, because it can be a lot of food.
Yes.
It is a lot of food. But I do find, again, I didn't do it on this sailing, so we're not doing a review, but I did find, I have historically found brunch to be better. And I think part of it for me isn't just that the food is better, because I think it is, but I think it's exacerbated by the fact that on the classic ships, Palo has this open feel to it. You can see the whole restaurant from wherever you are. The colors are brighter.
They're warmer.
They're warmer. Where this is very, on the new ships, it's very austere, much darker reds and browns. Plus, the way it's designed, you're very segmented depending on where you're sitting, and it just doesn't. Where in on the classic ships, it's basically a show kitchen right there in the middle of the restaurant. So when you're doing the buffet and everything is set up there, it's centrally located. Whereas if you're in the front of Palo on the Dream of the Fantasy, the buffet is all the way in the back. So you've got to walk all the way to the back of the restaurant. And I think the aesthetic, the feel, the ambiance, coupled with the fact I just don't think the food is as good, is why I'm not a fan.
Okay.
Not a fan of Palo for me. But so I think overall, then you're probably averaging about a 7.5 because I said 6.5, you said 8.5. So and you said 7.5, so we split the difference. So there you have it. That's our review of Palo on board the Dream. If you're interested in booking a vacation with either Sean Falk or Mike Finucci, you'll find in our show notes links to their agent pages on dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. So thanks, folks, for being with us. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week.